Hello, people. Jim here. So I just got off a call, a next feed from Hydra, and I like what they're doing. Their newest model is really fantastic for animation and lip syncing. Of course, they're not being known for lip syncing, but it works very well. You can check it out on their feed. I was asking a few questions: how they use their models, how APIs are used. And I got some really great feedback. One of the things that I've kind of jumped into is using AI to code my own image generators and video generators. So over the last, I'd say, week, I've been working on an AI scene maker. So what is that? Well, let me just show you this. So this is the AI scene maker, and it looks like I'm taking up too much of the screen, so I'm going to shrink myself down. Alright, that was weird. Anyway, so this is my AI screen maker. It is made from my brain, and I took all of my brain and threw it into Cursor. Cursor is it's an AI coding application that leverages different models like ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity, all these different things, and basically takes your words and converts it into code. I used to code back in the day, but I don't do it anymore. Kind of burned out. But this is what I was able to make in just a few days, and what it does is it takes an image and it analyzes it using AI vision, and it takes it apart. It finds the theme of the image, the background description, the main subject, the tone and color, and the action direction. So the action direction is more like if you saw someone running, or you saw something falling or exploding or crashing, it would depict that in the action. So the goal is to continue that action through a bunch of chains. And I have set up a few models. One is Juan, image to video, PicVerse 3.5, and Luma Ray 2. Now these are all pulling APIs from fowl.ai, and they all cost money. So I've been spending a lot of money and time building this because I think it's a really cool tool to eventually get up there and have other people use it. But it's a lot of trial and error to get it just right. So I'm going to just do a quick demo and show you what it looks like. So give me 1 second and I will pull in some pictures. So the way this works is you drop an image in here, which I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to pick one. Let's see. Let's go to... I don't see image motion, repo, lots of stuff here. Let's go to weird scenes. No, let's go to whimsical zoo. These are some cool pictures. A lot of these pictures I got from Midjourney, and some of them I got from Leonardo.ai using their Flow program. Pretty cool. So let's find an image that has kind of a lot going on. So I like this one with the giraffes in the back. So I'm going to pick this image and watch what happens. So AI is going to jump in and going to analyze the image, going to try to break it down into different parts, right? So the theme of the image, the background description, the main description, tone and color, and action. And after it does all that, I'll be able to go in and change any of this that I think maybe doesn't quite match. So let's look. Whimsical gathering of playful animals in miniature landscape. Cool. Yeah. Foreground, yes. Image, yes. Encourage the viewer to imagine what stories these playful animals might share, or suggest setting up additional figurines to expand this delightful scene. So it's a little bit literal. I want to make them come to life and maybe like dance around and stuff, or have a party, or maybe explore where they're at. So I can go in here and I can change a little bit. Encourage the viewer to imagine the stories, blah, 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 blah. So I don't want to change too much of this because it's already kind of compiled that in the rest of what it's figured out. So I'm going to say these playful animals may explore their surroundings and go on adventures. All right, so let's see what happens. So I'm going to update the scene vision. So down here is basically how it composed based on all of these different factors up here, how the scene would play out. And the scene can be anywhere from like 5 seconds to 50 seconds. It all depends on how long you want to make it. Or you can set an auto-determined chain count, which means that AI determines how many chains would be needed, or how many videos to get that whole thought. So let me update the scene first. So it's going to take what I put in here and update the scene. And then I'm going to choose what model to use. So I have 3 to choose from: WAN, Picverse, 3.5, and Luma Ray 2. Now these are all fabulous models. They all have their pros and cons. I'm going to choose Picverse because it kind of has a little bit more continuity with cartoon characters and stuff. I'm going to choose a resolution of 720. I think it costs like 40 cents for every 5 seconds. And I'm not going to choose any of these settings here. I'm going to just let it roll with the existing image, right? The inference steps is how much quality I want during the generation. So I'm going to use the full 40. And I'm going to use prompt extension. So whatever prompt it comes up with, I'm going to have it add a little bit more detail to each of the different areas. The areas would be like subject, content, tone, color, action, all of those things. And all of that's controlled by AI, but it's also controlled by LangChain. It uses a neural net to really think about, and I use the word think loosely here, but think about how all of these different ideals come together to form multiple chains to hopefully have a cohesive idea through each of the 5 seconds that how it progresses. And one of the things that many of these online tools have is you can extend your video. So if you do, like, I think Luma has like 5 second extend, you click extend and then it asks you to do another prompt to then continue the animation. What my app does is it's already thought about what the next step would be. Not only the next step, but all the steps ahead of that first step. There is a limitation there. Hopefully it gets through each of the steps so that at the end of the first video, it analyzes the last 10 frames and finds the best, clearest frame to move forward with, trims it there, and then moves on to creating the next 5 seconds of that chain. But with each chain, it reevaluates that keyframe that is captured with all of the details that we have here. So it's constantly kind of going back and looking at the story to make sure that it stays on point, right? This is AI though, it's not perfect, but this is a pretty decent way to make a scene. And you can make a scene from 5 seconds all the way to 50 seconds. And I think you'll be paying $5 for a 50-second scene, which in my opinion is not that bad. That said, I don't have V.0.2 here, and that's a little bit pricey, coming in at $2.50 for the first 5 seconds, and then 50 cents for every additional second. So let's see here. So we have our settings, and we have a negative prompt if you want to add some. This is fine, just using the basic one. I'm going to click auto determine chain count. So it's going to decide how many chains. And I'm going to leave the seed random, so it'll pick a random seed and it'll stick with that. If you want to put a seed in so that you can go back to what you wanted, you can do that too. So I'm going to hit generate, and up here is going to give you my progress. Now it's going to take a little bit of time. It'll give you a brief estimate of how long it'll take to generate each of the different chains, and then it'll get a loose kind of understanding as to how long the entire chain process will work. Now, if you want to kind of see like behind the scenes, I will show you that. So let me pull up the PowerShell, which is in the background. And let's see here. How do I switch to this one? You know, I'll just drag it in here. So as we're going through here, we can see how it's all coming together. So it basically takes the image and it breaks it down into all the different pieces that you saw, right? And then after it has all those different pieces, it sends it up to FAL.ai, which is the backend that I use, and it evaluates all the different components of that image, the brightness, and you know, all those different components. And then if it can optimize it, it will, right? Because you want the best possible image to start. So looking at this one image, it says it doesn't need any changes, and then it jumps right into let's learn about the story, right? So it's writing the story as it goes, and you can see here that the prompt it came in to, and it uses camera controls and all that kind of thing to generate the scene, which is cool. So this is zoom in gently on the smiling lion cub as it playfully nudges the tall spotted giraffe, urging it to continue the lush miniature landscape together. So it's starting to create a scene in which they're walking through. And remember, that was sort of based on my action, which said, encourage the viewer to what stories his playful animals might explore their surroundings and go on adventures, right? So it's sticking to that. So what does it do now? So now it sends it to Picverse, and then it starts its magic, starts to generate it. And then after it generates that 5 seconds, it then analyzes the last 10 frames of the video for the highest quality, does a bunch of kind of calculations, and comes up with which one is the best. So in this case, it finds frame 153 of 161. It then trims that video so that the next video starts exactly where that frame was taken, and then the whole process starts over, right? So then it takes the image, it optimizes if it needs to, it then goes through all those different steps, and then it comes up with another prompt. So this prompt, okay, updated the background, the action, and then, okay, so here it is right here. Action direction. As the playful animal figurines gather beneath a whimsical tree, adorned by tiny lanterns, the camera slowly zooms in on the giraffe, who curiously peeks over at the shimmering pond nearby. So this will continue frame by frame, not frame by frame, chain by chain, and it will generate a story based on, like I said, all of these different factors. So it's really, really cool, and I was able to put this together in a few days just by telling Cursor exactly what it wanted to do. And I can jump into Cursor in another video. I just want to kind of show you what's possible, you know, to build. And you don't need any coding experience. I have a little bit of coding experience, but for the most part, it has been just ingenuity and creativity and imagination and just a lot of trial and error. There are still some bugs in here, but I'm working through them. So if we go to one that I've already done, I'll show you how it kind of exports it. So here's an image of 3 retro space girls, I guess, women, and I asked it to go through and do the same thing I did with the other picture. So this is a completed not screenshot, but it's just a copy of the window. And we can go down here and we could go through and see exactly what the vision was, and then we could compare it with all the different chains that were created. In this case, when it completes, you get the generated story, the full story here, so 36 seconds. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chains, right? It's 5 seconds apiece. So you can see that the math doesn't work out, and it's because when you trim something, when you trim it, you get more or less, different seconds. So you're able to enhance the final video, which goes through, uses a module that does some interpolation and kind of smooths out the animation, smooths out the scenes and the frames for it's more optimized. And that's it. And then you can kind of watch it from here. I don't know if this is going to play because I'm running something over here, but we will try. Let me see if I can run this. Now, does it stay consistent? Sorta, but it does get wacky because when your main character leaves the screen and comes back to the screen, it has to figure it out. And that's where the trial and error comes from. But it's a really great way to get started, building a full-fledged movie. You could use this to do different scenes where you're just doing like a 10-second, 15-second spot. Then maybe you have to go out to a landscape or an environment. You can build that, or maybe a backstory, or, there's so many things you can do. But when you run it for like more than 30 seconds, it starts to get wild. And hopefully I can show you this one. So let me, okay, it's going to play. So here we go, dancing around. You can see that the video is pretty smooth, right? Even though it's going from chain to chain, it's taking that last image and really seamlessly going through and creating this movie. Again, so now we have the pop girls, the different bands going here, dancing around. Now we're zooming in with the camera angles, popping out. And now we're a different set of dancers dancing around. But again, I think this is pretty cool when you want to generate some really wild and crazy scenes. From a single image, people, just for one image, we got all of that awesomeness. So let me go back to here. Let's check and see where we're at. It looks like it's estimating 8.1 minutes for the next chain to be completed. Usually it goes a little bit faster, but remember, we are at the mercy of their API to process all of these different things. And I actually chose 720p because after we get our result, we can always upscale it to a higher version. Saves you a little bit of money, but you can go full tilt and do the 1080 if you wish. So let's pop over into the guts and see what's going on. So where are we at right now? So right now we are at chain 1. We're still at chain 1. All right, must be really, really thinking hard about that chain 1. Like I said, it is different time frames for different models. I find that Luma tends to be the fastest, and WAN is sort of in the middle. It really depends on what resolution you choose and the duration of the chains. So that was just a quick kind of tutorial. I'm going to pause the video now, and when this completes, I'll jump back and we can kind of go through the same process that we did, that I showed you from the other one. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and it looks like our scene has completed. I have not even watched it. I have no idea what it's going to look like. But what I can see is all the steps, all the chains that were created, and I can see them one after another. And if I wanted to, I could play them individually. So I'll play this one just to see what the beginning looks like. The first 5 seconds. Oh, that's pretty cute, right? The rain's coming down. They're giving a little hug. All right. Well, I won't hold it up. So let's see. Let's make this full screen, and let's see how our 36-second video turned out. Now, again, I'll warn you, it's probably not perfect. There's a lot going on in this scene. It'll make it crazy. But let's see. I'm also working on maybe adding some sound effects. So in this one would be like rain, or maybe some music. There's a two-headed something that's walking by. Okay, the head got better. Oh, and then the tiger kind of appears. There's a real giraffe that kind of popped in. Pretty crazy. Looks like maybe some fireflies, some gold. They found some gold in their adventure. It's going kind of in and out from different styles because it did start out in like porcelain and then it got real. So that was really cool. I mean, that was didn't really move a lot. The scene didn't change. But again, I didn't give the action too much to go on. I kind of kept it simple because if you give it too much information, sometimes it literally just warps into a completely different idea and you lose all continuity. So that was just, like I said, that's a quick demo of what I'm working on, and hopefully I'll be able to put it up online and you guys can test it out yourselves. So I appreciate you hanging out, and I will catch up with you later. Thanks.